Again, try to remember, I keep in my mind my Billy, or any Billy that's at the table right now trying to keep up for whatever reason you feel like you're Billy, Billy squared, or Billy prime, Billy squared, of the degree of Billy that you need to be Billy at, so.
Thoughts on crime consequences. I mean, what does that even mean, right? So there's an alternate universe on some coverage.
Yeah, between arresting somebody and getting them to reform under what I've been running for my IMA program with the workforce. You would say in there, for what jewelerists do, you need a security index to expect it to be the same ratio as a gas station in terms of where we station cars. The budget would correlate to the index of prime security against squishy marks getting robbed if you had no governmental security at all keeping under an area. Obviously, they're going to hit the biggest, hardest first, things that don't maintain their infrastructure, anybody's infrastructure of food, water, and shelter until it starts to trip the index. That starts to dry out in the monopolist diminishing return before you start raiding the store for food, and then there's no longer a structure that keeps up the Caligula coin because somebody shaved it too far down. Generally, when you think about it in drugs, you would say, where's your market coming from unless you got some Taco Bell worker coming from the equator doing something inside of here.
Lawmakers to do something, but nothing happened.
Where do you get it from? What's it come from?
Jesse, in the
And you would expect the
Reuters
jewelry
poll,
index to
crime is
go,
the
well,
top
I have a
5%
little bit more of a
all
security
Americans
index because
actually
the return
eclipsing
on
COVID.
the derivative of gold is pretty wild, especially in jewelry, given the it's all just geometry and shaping under times a system of a frame rate that compresses it into a necklace ring. Givenly, it's a lot of skill and practice, but the difference is you didn't do it. You didn't have the map index, what these systems turn into. That's the team, your Masons or whoever, whatever. I'll make you up a contract any which way you want of the DCG, Horseman Gambit, Dust Contract Gambit. But inside here, what squad cars do I need is based on the Rabbit Coke, right? What are the wave functions? Obviously, we have big security problems when 4th of July, you're going to get, was it St. Patrick's Day, obviously. Around here, it's New York. It's out here in the sticks. So we're not going to get slammed so much come Christmas and things. Everything is really town to get shut down during that time. It's not that the gas station and other things aren't open and people aren't catching time and a half, but why would somebody just roll in here off the highway and do that? And again, regionally, I want you to take that a bit farther. Look at your districts for what your school county is, or your postal code, or your phone number code, or whatever sensible that leaves you the chains and rails inside of there, the number of squad cars you would need, and the calculus index, the renormalization of that.
Wouldn't tolerate this kind of violence in their neighborhood. That's really disgusting.
Well, there's a gear work when this thing gets going. It doesn't matter if you're a programmer, it doesn't matter if you're an asset manager, it doesn't matter if you're the safety guy that does something here to just check to do this, and then on bi-weekly monthlies, every once in a while the check is different. And no Fed to go over there to oligarchy that. Of course the Arizona state governor, if going to the Arizona state court, would not go that way because it's their freaking demographic. That's the 10th, right? Against the first, that is the Fed. Or, well, whatever you want to say, you got the freedom of speech or press to determine down inside of there what the devil in the details are given gravity, right?
They don't care until it affects them. Nearly all the victims
of
violent
Beach.
crime are black, right? And they would be alive right now if it wasn't...
Yeah, that's the right index, but who's secure enough to do that? And he has to be packing before that thing starts to shift this way, before they're going to start going that this is a no-go zone, go zone. They're going to start to get milliseconds inside here, that differential, before those other ones start to pour in here. And then this guy can't do anything anyways, short of putting one down, looking at the rest of them, hope that they don't inside the 42 foot, what? 42 feet is what it takes for you to get stabbed when you have a cop that's 42 feet away from somebody to draw your weapon. So now he has a weapon in here. Now there's another index. You move the wrong way. What are you supposed to do? Now let him run out the door? Look, there was a... Are you crazy? I mean, what do you think put it in the knee? What's the training do? What's the autonomous program do?
So if you actually knew a police officer, most of us do, all of us do. you would not have fallen for this anti-police narrative. And I do think the white-collar
And
elitism
again,
that you
when
find
they
in
would
the
be my
media
prison, what do you
has
think I'd be
separated
having them
those people
trained?
from knowing
It's like you
anybody
already
from
must have known
plumbers to
something
cops,
across the
not
board.
understanding their
And
problems.
again,
The
you're
central
probably
truth
on
is that
probation
people
at Best Buy and
either
they're
in this
overhead. And
denial or
again,
this delusion
what are you good
don't
at?
live
You
where
have
the
skills,
crime
especially
is.
strong enough
And
to
they're
run and
false
stuff like that. Of
reporting
course you're going to be
that
in the
it was hunting
warehouse. Of
season
course you're going to be there
on
for
blacks
doing
by
it for a
cops
while, doing the
made it
overhead
worse
before
in
you
the
check
areas
anything
where
off
there
to
is
get to the
black
security
on black
cam or
crime.
Walmart
There's
security
a study
crew
now
or
that showed
Target
that
security
Democrats
crew. You seen what
believe
they're
that
up to? That's an
cops
OP
killed
level.
1,000
They're
black,
getting adjusted into it.
black people when it was unarmed.
And you would think like, hey, yeah, you know those Target guys that run out and rust people, the crack addicts, meth addicts, they'd be like, SEAL training, right?
50% of the homicides are done by 17 to 15% of the
National
population.
Guard,
Cops need to focus on
MOS.
that area. But now they can't, right? They can't
Well,
focus
you know
on
what
that
kid
area,
is good in the
which created
cruiser, and I
more
mean, there's a
black on
test
black
for it.
crime
That's what the
if they're not there
calculus was
policing.
about, drill
So
sarge.
who caused all this death?
Now,
Who
in the
caused
end of that,
Ferguson
you got to
effect
believe
or
what
the
it
George
is,
Floyd
because you
effect
got to
now?
understand that's
Who
what it
caused
is. Because that if
Who
you don't
caused the
have those
cops
in the
to
great
retreat
quad
from the
squad
areas
cars, guess what
where they were
happens,
needed
man?
most? It was the media. It was Black Lives Matter. It was the activists. And now
Ron,
you have thousands
Lightfoot
of
out
black
there
people
in
who are dead
Chicago.
that shouldn't be dead, and it's on their doorstep.
And interestingly, that when
Well,
you
it's in
mentioned
everybody's.
the police
It's just
officers,
again, you know, certain states are
we
going
had
to
a
say, well, I
gentleman
don't
on
need to pull
from
up
the police
taxes right
department
now.
in San
The
Francisco
you
for,
know
I think,
the
25 years he decided to
what does it cost to
one of her
live
big
in the
complaints
area
was
as
that
far
the
as what the
DA out
adjusted
there,
operators
Chesed
might be for
has
the shorts
basically-
crossing
that somebody in his
train
office is
tracks
withholding
and
evidence
time
about
on
an
me
officer
Greenwich and
involved
anything else
situation,
that
Officer Stengel's
operates
case,
different
and they're
wave
calling
functions.
for the complete misconduct by
Change
the
colors,
DA because
guy,
they're not
man.
protecting the police officers.
Cumulus clouds start
there's
adding
no
up when you weren't
surprise.
paying
When you've
attention.
got
And usually
rogue
somebody hits you on the
prosecutors
mill, right?
funded
Like,
by
look
George
outside.
Soros,
We're not doing anything.
their
We're
whole
not cover
mission
up
is to
anything that's
release the
not made out of
criminals.
stone or
They have no
engine
interest
parts
in
that are
protecting the
covered up
victims.
because
And
we're
if
Bob
the
coming in.
victim happens to be a police officer, then it's an even worse situation. You know, just let this guy ignore everything that has to do with it, with his situation. But I think what's amazing about Jen
When you hear it, what's that cobalt nuclear salt just laying around everywhere in there?
You know, these people are in an
Yeah, it's a
alternate
dirty wave
universe.
function.
She
A dirty
says that there
hydrogen
was
wave function,
$350
but
million
just to
in
do
the
it
American
right.
Rescue Plan, and the Washington Post gave it 3 Pinocchios. When she
Wow.
said that money could have
We'll
gone to
shift it
police
over there,
and not
right?
one
Because then all
Republican
town would be
voted
up in
for it.
here, and then
Here's the
Scal. All
response to
right,
that.
maybe,
The
but then
response to
there's
that
that
is
quadrant
that
over.
money wasn't earmarked for police. It could have been used for any one of a number of things, and police were not specifically mandated to receive
And again,
that money. That's
you know,
number one.
cruisers are one
Number
thing on the
two
cost of
is-
things,
number
especially when we
two,
got
what we've
prisoners from
got now is
mechanics
we've
on the
got,
MOS, and we have them
Merrick
fix up the
Garland is
car,
coming
have
to
them
New
do
York City, I
timelines and
understand,
service, and have people
along
check it. Of
with the
course not. You would be like,
governor
oh, what if they cut
and
the
the
brake lines?
president. They're all
Well, don't
gonna
we have
come in and
people
say,
that
"We're gonna
do
take care of you
check
all, we're
brake
gonna
lines,
protect
make
you
sure there's
all."
not bombs
Nonsense.
underneath it
If you
anyways for
remember,
training and
Merrick Garland is
protocols?
the guy who came out and said,
Don't we have one
"Yeah,
of them
those
on our
parents
team
are
doing
domestic
that at the end
terrorists.
just as
Here,
gatekeeper?
FBI, I'm gonna sick you after those
No,
domestic
and you don't give them
terrorist
$1 million
parents."
fucking dollars, and they start cocking wise, get out of line, you replace their sorry asses.
To the DA bragged, the new prosecutor.
Look,
is
there
not
was a
gonna be
ceiling to
tough
that
on
spot.
crime.
That is not the
She
god-all
says,
spot
"Yeah,
and
you've gotta be
everything,
tough
much
on
more than the
crime,"
time-telling
but then
post
she
it
goes,
is.
Wink, wink to her legislative friends in Albany. No, we're not going to change any of the bail laws, so we're going to let them out loose. So the Democrats want them out. That's part of their agenda.
If they're coming tomorrow, Geraldo, they will see that the second funeral for the NYPD Officer Mora, he will be laid to rest
I
tomorrow.
got a fun one
and
for you
that will
guys. You
happen,
just set them down.
around, I think it starts at
You
10
send them to
a.m.
me. You
And
tell
then
them to
Thursday,
sit down
the
and take a
president is
ride
coming
on the
here. I guess
cyclotron.
One, he says he wants to deal with gun issues. He'll be in
Good
an
fall.
appearance with Eric Adams, who's the new mayor. Do you think that Eric Adams will say something to him about the
That's fun. The plague
progressive
and
prosecutors?
or
I know
outbreak
that,
and the
Eric
shit
Adams likes
weasels
Joe
from
Biden. I
Dreamcatcher,
think that,
right? Those
Eric
two
Adams
playing
is
off at the
pleased
same
that the
time. Well, this
president is
plague
coming here,
incorporated
as
about
I am.
COVID stuff
I
in
give
the
them,
office,
the
hitting that
benefit of
needle
the
right
doubt.
there. I
think
wonder
that
why
he's
that
coming
thing
here
come wild
is a
like
good
that.
signal.
I
They're also
mean,
going
it's from
to
this morning
crime
about
riddled
people not being
neighborhood in
hawkish
Queens, I
comparatively
believe.
to the Fed,
So
paying
I
attention
think
to
that's
certain
good. I think
numbers,
that
the
the
Peacock
deaths of
War,
these
you're
two
getting out of
Mora
this
and
thing, the
Rivera,
red and green rocks
will
and
be a seminal moment in
infinite
the story.
pizza
I
boxes
think
of
that
these
this is
guys
where the
playing.
defund the police movement
You know,
comes.
they definitely
This is
need to
where
have
cops
something
were,
going on
again,
because
the virtuous friend of the family.
you know, well,
And
that was the
I
index. I
am
want to show you, hey, I
deeply
want to
moved
stay
by
tight on their timeline.
their families,
Give you
how
some
they have
sets.
spoken
Well, Well, that one wasn't. It was actually they left an alphabet and then got into PayPal about the dip on that, and I was like, well, look good. Should be the bottom, but she's still falling here. You'd expect her to go a little bit there and there. I make sure I put the timestamp to the timestamp to the timestamp, but that's what you'll look like when you go, oh, I'm making a decision in the video before I have this up there yet, and I mean between post to post, I have something to cover my ass.
He would come and fire off and above the heads But this
And
kind of
Starbucks
nonsense
about
would
some of
not
these other
happen,
ways that
even in the
works.
city when it was really riddled with crime, when we were over 2,000 homicides a year. I want also
Look, you'd
to
probably say
remember
before
what
the
I've said about
unionization in
technology.
itself, and
I
you
think
have to
the way
just pay
beat
things
this
beyond the
three-beat
spectrum
trend
of
is
the
technology.
base limit,
It
and then
should be
hire
the
in more for
explosive
a
dyes
security
that
risk
they
starts
have
it at a
in money in
dividend,
the
right?
banks. Every one of these jewelry stores should be the
I
counters
get there at the end of the
should
movie,
be,
and the helicopter
wired
wapes out
so
the
that
top of
they
the hill.
have
Now,
this
I don't know
exploding
how
sirens
much
should
Mel
go off.
Gibson went
We
into the
can't let them come
recreation
in
of
and
that
fill their bag and
battlefield
leave
over
because
there,
success just
or what the
breeds more
NP
crime.
problem
You're
is, or
right,
why
and we
I
had
like
these
people for the
videos,
way
and
I
it
have
was
them
like God
positioned, and hope
sending us
generally people
evidence
look
when
the
it
same.
happened. But now
I
we've
don't know
got
what you can
prosecutors
see
who
or
won't
what
even
you do see.
prosecute the case. They won't even look at the videos.
Well, I think that I would like very much for the President of the United States to say something
Look at the video.
out of character, say something about, you know, if someone comes in and uses a gun in a robbery, that person is going to jail for the robbery and the gun,
Well, that would,
and that's it.
That would be changing the policy, which is what they've said they haven't
That
done. But if they
happened.
do, okay, well, welcome it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most
Right.
compelling
Right.
analysis. You will not get it.